So there was this article, and this is a massive white pill article. When I read just what this guy typed, I was like, oh God, yes, she deserves even less. Cheryl Cohen, 57, was making $272,000 a year as a senior VP at a USAID-funded nonprofit when she was let go at the end of March 2025. Last month, she had an online interview for a $19 an hour job managing a Penzeys Spices store in Falls Church, Virginia. You know what that tells me? That tells me that she was in a do-nothing female daycare job where she learned no skills, she had no skills to bring to anything she was doing, and she was merely being paid for existing. It was a useless daycare position where she is now 57 and her skills only lend her running a spice store. And I mean, it's like, we need people running spice stores, but they're trying to write this as like a sob story, and it's like, I absolutely don't feel bad. She shouldn't have been in that position. That position never should have existed in the first place. My tax dollars went to paying this useless woman for doing nothing. A year after USAID's death, fired workers find few jobs and much loss. She was fired by email while on maternity leave. So wait, she wasn't even working? She wasn't even working when she was fired? Oh my God. Given 24 hours to clear out her desk and left with 3 days of health insurance and no severance pay. She had worked for the U.S. Agency for International Development or related groups for more than 2 decades, and she made $175,000 a year. That was January 28th, 2025. Today, Amy Yasello and her husband, who also lost his job when USAID funding for his nonprofit dried up. Look, this is a useless couple who contribute nothing, who do nothing. The only thing they do is to undermine America. The U.S. Agency for International Development? What the fuck? How about the development here? How about our shit? Look at our electrical grid. Haven't we been screaming about how China could like do shit to our grid for years? How about that? In 1 year, they drained their savings. These fucking retards probably don't know how to save. Like, I would love to see Caleb interview fucking government workers, man. They rely on food stamps, Medicaid, and a supplemental nutrition program for women and children that helps with their now 19-month-old daughter. So wait a minute, they went from being paid $175,000 a year out of our taxpayer money to now probably using less than $175,000 because they're still on government benefits because apparently they can't support themselves. This is part of the problem with having a wide-catching welfare net, is you get people who just live on the system for fucking ever, and they don't do anything. They don't do anything. The mortgage on their home in Washington was, until recently, in forbearance, meaning they negotiated to pay less than they owed each month. So you're telling me that these people were living above their means and they didn't have any kind of savings with which to pay their mortgage if they were to get laid off? They just thought, oh, I got a government job, I'm set for life? It's getting a government job shouldn't be like, oh, I don't need to learn anything or do anything ever again. I'm going to get paid by taxpayers until I die. That is a horrible mindset to have. The bank has now cut them off and suggested they apply for a low-income mortgage program. Oh, so even though they have fucked up everything, they have no savings, and they bought a house that they couldn't afford, now there's even programs to help them with that? Well, how many retard programs do we have, brother? We don't know if we'll qualify, Miss Usello said. She and her husband have applied for more than 100 jobs with no luck. Most of their friends don't have jobs either. Nights are the hardest. Well, I mean, that's kind of what happens when you go into a busy work daycare job where you learn nothing and have no skills. I can't sleep because of our own situation. Miss Usello, 49? 49? 19-month-old daughter? She had a baby when she was 48? What? This is like, this should be the poster couple for you get nothing, you should have nothing. This is literal idiocracy made manifest. What the fuck are we doing? They're having children at 48 years old. They have no skills. They counted on having a daycare government job for the both of them forever. And so now they can't get another job. Holy shit. She's running out of dubious economic choices. I can't sleep because of what I know, what's happening around the world. So she's also ESL? What are we doing here? I can't sleep because my former colleagues and friends are also suffering. When the Trump administration dismantled the sprawling global aid agency last year, it wiped out virtually an entire industry, international development. Good! make me hornier! That had been based in Washington since USAID's creation in 1961 under President John F. Kennedy. It's a good thing this is gone. What kind of international development has happened? Is any country in Africa with billions of our dollars some like Wakandan paradise now? I don't fucking think so. All of you people in that department were worthless. Nearly all of the agency's 16,000 employees were laid off. An estimated 280,000 contractors, partners, and local hires worldwide lost their jobs as well. Oh, I love not having my tax dollars go to this bullshit. A year later, people have plowed through savings, cashed out retirement funds, and moved in with friends and relatives. Retards. Low IQ, worthless, do-nothing retards. If you have a job that's paying you $175,000 a year, or like this other lady, $272,000 a year, if you're not living above your means, those are very good fucking salaries. You should not get laid off and have zero fucking money 1 year later. That tells me you are a disturbed retard who does not deserve the safety nets that we provide. You are the source of your problems. Former USAID workers who have done informal surveys estimate that less than half have found full-time work. So you're saying that less than half of USAID workers have any kind of skills that can translate to any other job besides being some sort of useless pencil pusher in the government, with many making less than before. An estimated third are unemployed. Others are in part-time work. The District of Columbia currently has the highest unemployment rate in the nation at 6.7%, in large part because of major reductions in the federal workforce, including USAID and cuts to government grants and contracts. The few former USAID workers who have landed similar or better jobs don't like to talk about it in front of unemployed friends. If they've landed a similar or better job in the same vein of what they were doing at USAID, that means that they were likely DEI hired or nepotismed into another do-nothing daycare job. No wonder they don't like to talk about it. I feel guilty, honestly, that all of my colleagues who I know are still unemployed, I'm the one who found something, said Sarah Minor, 42, who was a senior advisor in the agency's HIV/AIDS office and previously ran health programs in Mozambique, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. I'm glad she was fired. My tax dollars should not go to anything about HIV or AIDS, especially in Mozambique, Zambia, and fucking Zimbabwe. Especially fucking Zimbabwe. Rhodesians never die, brother. Now she helps manage health and human service programs for Fairfax County, Virginia. Fuck you, DC. Take Arlington, Fairfax, and Ilk with you. That's just like, that's incredibly upsetting. That's incredibly upsetting, man. International community leaves Rhodesia out to dry, and now we have to spend millions of dollars on fucking AIDS in Zimbabwe. Fuck off. Fuck off. Jobs are also gone at the many nonprofits and partner agencies once funded by USAID. Everyone I know is also up the creek. All my bosses, my mentors, the people you would normally go to, the people providing me references, said Catherine Baker, 36, who, as a contractor, made $127,000 a year, recruiting staff and helping to start up USAID projects. I'm so glad she got fired. This entire article is just like news porn. Like, you could just masturbate to this.
Let's try to register the honey today.
Miss Baker now volunteers as a manager for OneAid, which helps former USAID workers, and works 9 hours a week as a companion for 2 elderly women. What? Literal daycare jobs. What are we doing? They set up an entire new, company to help former daycare useless people. That's fucking wild. She works 9 hours a week. That's not a real job! I work more than that! And you can argue streaming's not a real job! It's just USAID, but without the paycheck! Holy fuck, man! How much does she get paid for those 9 hours? How much is OneAid paying this useless woman? The New York Times interviewed 30 former USAID employees, contractors, and partners in Washington, around the country, and overseas to see how they were faring in the years since Elon Musk, the world's richest man, proudly announced that he had fed the agency into the wood chipper. I love how this entire article is trying to make us feel bad for them, and they're even like, ooh, that evil Elon Musk. Don't say his name too loud or he might cut your job next. Ooh. If you're a USAID worker, don't say Elon Musk in front of the mirror 3 times or you might lose your job. Unlike in early 2025, when many who lost jobs thought they might be reinstated and declined to speak on record for fear of antagonizing Trump officials, this time almost all gave their names and spoke emotionally and at length. Many said they were still dealing with mental trauma and a loss of confidence in their professional abilities after brutal job hunts. That's because you don't have any professional abilities! Your professional ability was pursing your lips and sucking on the teat of taxpayer dollars while doing fucking nothing but virtue signaling and thinking of yourself as a good person. I don't think anything could make me happier than this. I think at my future wedding, I will reference the USAID workers' tears and how delicious they were. 'Cause holy fuck, this is insane. Mental fucking trauma. Mental trauma that you're not going to be making hundreds of thousands of years doing fucking nothing. All mourned the loss of a mission in working for an agency that has contributed billions of dollars every year for decades to global humanitarian assistance. And that's why it's gone. And that's why you're all useless. And that's why all of you technically are also bad people. Why were billions of our dollars going to global humanitarian assistance? Some cited studies estimating that cuts to the agency's HIV/AIDS program could lead to millions of deaths, including young children. How are those young children getting the AIDS? How are those young children getting the AIDS? Like, I know sometimes if the mother has AIDS when they give birth, the child could have HIV. That can happen. That can happen. You know how women usually get HIV in these underdeveloped countries? Do you know about that? Instead of funding the HIV/AIDS programs, maybe you could go to one of those countries and be like, hey, you guys are trying to set up education, maybe. We're not going to fund it, but you should maybe teach men that stuffing a vagina with sand and rocks actually isn't a good idea. Because that creates lesions and bleeding, and that's how you get AIDS. A home for the U.S. Foreign Assistance Community. OneAid serves as a connector and information hub carrying forward the knowledge, expertise, and dedication of this community. You see, chat, this is why I couldn't have any position of power, right? Because someone would show me this website, and I would be like, yeah, I don't care if any of these people are American citizens. They clearly prioritize foreign interests over us, so deport them. Where should we deport them, Madam President? I don't fucking care. Deport them to some AIDS country. They seem to like those. Supporting people, convening community, educating the public. It's a fucking circle. OneAid is for all. Whether you are current or former staff from USAID, the State Department, the Millennium Challenge Corporation, what the fuck is that? The U.S. Institute of Peace, the Peace Corps, an implementing partner or foreign service national staff member, or simply someone who believes in the mission of U.S. foreign assistance, this space is for you. I think the irony here is that absolutely everyone who says that they believe in the mission of U.S. foreign assistance also would probably simultaneously say that the U.S. needs to stop being a global bully and interfering with affairs in other countries. You can't have it both ways, buddy! You can't have it both. If you accept our money, we might just come in and yoink your leader one day. Like, so you gotta pay the piper one day, brother. What we do, we provide support and resources for foreign assistance professionals whose careers have been disrupted due to recent funding cuts. Connecting the community, we connect the U.S. foreign assistance community and partners with grassroots groups and established organizations to achieve collective goals. Informing Americans, we work to inform everyday Americans about the importance of U.S. foreign assistance and why it is a worthwhile investment for our country. Part of me wants to like email them and be like, hello, OneAid community. I am desperately in need of your help. After losing my job with USAID and my $380,000 a year salary, I have been forced to work in the mines as a cartoon foxwoman. And it's very demeaning and demoralizing that I have to put on a facade every day. I need your help, you OneAid money dollars, please. Phoenix DS, thank you. They take the money, they kiss the ring. Oh my god. You'd look so nice in black leather and a tall brimmed hat. Why not give you dictatorial powers? No! Oh, why the fuck have you never heard of USAID until this stream? Oh my god. USAID is an information and connection hub for U.S. foreign assistance community. How in the fuck is there a U.S. foreign assistance community? Like it's some kind of fucking Alcoholics Anonymous group. What is this? We bring together professionals, partners, and supporters to stay connected, support one another, and continue advancing global prosperity. You know what's crazy? They put more effort into setting up this like bullshit organization to give them more busy work daycare jobs instead of attempting to do something and learn a skill and get a real job that contributes something. They contribute absolutely nothing. And you could even make the argument that I technically contribute nothing. I'm just like a fucking talking head, dude. I'm just like an entertainer. You could lose entertainers and the world would still go on, you know? Through a growing network of affiliated groups across 47 states and regions across Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America, and the Middle East and North Africa, USAID creates spaces for meaningful connection. Our community of more than 17,000 members and followers across social media platforms and Signal creates spaces to build relationships, share experiences, and find a sense of belonging. That's crazy that they need to do this to find a sense of belonging. Because, like, yeah, if you're someone who wants to move all of America money to other nations to build them up with American money dollars, you're probably going to be ousted from quite a few places. Not many people take kindly to that. From social gatherings to storytelling and educational events, webinars, and volunteer opportunities, we offer inclusive and accessible ways to connect, learn, and contribute. Whether you're looking to find community, stay engaged, or make an impact, USAID provides a place to belong and grow together. Do you have any idea how many people are gonna fall for this shit too? It's just like, whenever I read stuff about this, it makes me think back to when I was a child and we would get those like weird upside down pyramid boxes from our church, and you would put like any change and whatnot in them to raise money for starving people in Africa. And even as a child, I was just like, Meme, when we go to Boston all the time, there's tons of homeless people there. Why are we raising money for homeless people in Africa when there's homeless people here? And like now as an adult, I'm like, well, we have some homeless people here who choose to be homeless drug addicts, so you can't really help people who don't want to help themselves. It would be nice if you could help some of the homeless people who actually want to get out of their predicament. USAID and partner events. Holy shit, it looks like my calendar, dude. They have 10 a.m. art exhibitions almost every fucking day. Jesus Christ. USAID VA. Hold on, wait a minute. VA for foreign aid. These people are grotesque, dude. Support USAID's global change makers. Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely fucking not. Of course they have a blue sky instead of a Twitter. Of course they have a blue sky. They only have a blue sky and only have 56 people following them. That's fucking wild. Sign up here. Service remembered, service continued. A USAID book talk. They're talking about themselves like they're the fucking veterans. What the fuck? That's gross. Upcoming virtual book talk with USAID authors moderated by former USAID Administrator Samantha Power. May 11th from 12 to 1 p.m. Service remembered, service continued, a USAID book talk featuring Kirsche Effium, I Said My Piece with Peace, Nicholas Enric, Into the Wood Chipper. That's probably not the good wood chipper that we like here. Jennifer Erie, The World in My Bones, the diplomat that Queens made, and it's moderated by Ambassador Samantha Power, former USAID administrator. I kind of want to... I don't know if I would be able to just sit in and listen, but I would be very fucking interested in doing so. Others acknowledged that there was bloat and waste in the agency and a need for reform. Much of the $35 billion it managed in 2024 went to Washington-based contractors, not directly to people in need overseas. There was like a graph going around recently as well, showing like the disparity in the amount of administrators and the amount of like physicians that have popped up over the last like however many years. I can't remember the scale, but it's like administrators were like 20 times more than new physicians coming into work. Administrative bloat is absolutely insane and is there to literally give people daycare jobs, unfortunately. You need some administration. Not that much, bro. The success of many projects was hard to measure, and yet this whole article is trying to make us feel bad for these people. But all of those interviewed said that they were still incredulous that an agency that amounted to less than 1% of the federal budget had been so quickly obliterated and reduced to a skeletal operation within the State Department. Why would you be incredulous? Like, yes, there is other fraud and other waste to be cut elsewhere, but that doesn't mean that your fraud and waste should not be cut. That doesn't make any sense. I don't care if it's 1% or 1% of the 1%. Get fucking rid of it if it's worthless. USAID workers who once thought of themselves as ambassadors for American soft power. These fucking fart sniffers, dude. Holy shit. Said they worried about the trust in the United States that was lost overseas. They said they were still burning from President Trump's characterization of them as radical left lunatics. You are a radical left lunatic. You saw yourself as an ambassador for American soft power. You are a lunatic. That is insane. I need to read all of this in one swift block. Hold on. USAID workers who once thought of themselves as ambassadors for American soft power said they worried about the trust in the United States that was lost overseas. They said they were still burning from President Trump's characterization of them as radical left lunatics. I'm a queer brown immigrant, said Adrian Mathura, 55, a Navy veteran and former senior USAID advisor in global health, who was involuntarily retired last July and is still fighting for the retirement pay he is due. I got to do all of this incredible stuff in my life and my career, and I spent all of my life touting how great the city on the hill was. If you encounter an individual that says how great our government is, that says how great Capitol Hill is, that's not a human. You should do whatever you can to end that conversation as fast as you can before you get disappeared and used for experimentation. There is not a single person that would say that kind of thing. Like, even if you like some of the things the government is doing, you still don't tout like, yeah, I love the government now. It's hurtful that you call me a radical left lunatic. Anyway, here's my qualifications as a radical left lunatic. I would say they did this on purpose, but I don't think they did because the New York Times is a shit rag. In the end, he said, I never even once imagined I would be so betrayed by my government. To them, words are not a means of communication. They're a means of deceiving you. The Navy got another one. Oh no, they're bringing out the big guns, chat. Daddy, have you gotten fired today? Many of the hardest hit are those with years of experience. Cheryl Cohen, 57, was making $272,000 a year as a senior vice president at a USAID nonprofit when she was let go at the end of March 2025. Last month, she had an online interview for a $19 an hour job managing a Penzeys spices store near her home in Falls Church, Virginia. We need people managing spice stores, man. Where else am I going to get my spices? Her take-home pay would not cover her mortgage, but said she was eager to do something other than spending down her savings and has applied for 60 jobs. She has since been called back for an in-person interview. Aside from the salary, it would be fun, she said. I could do it for a little while. Oh no, the children are sad. We must burn the Constitution. She has learned from online webinars on job hunting that her 3 decades of work in international development, including as the Peace Corps country director for Benin, need to be papered over on her resume. I could see including Peace Corps country director for Benin as like I have leadership skills, but the fact that people are saying don't even bother putting that on your resume means she doesn't even have leadership skills? That's crazy. Sell your fucking house and downsize if you can't pay the mortgage. Somehow, after 20 years of experience, you're suddenly trying to hide the number because it makes you sound old. Miss Cohen said over lunch in her Falls Church townhouse. I was writing in the blurb at the top of my resume, I have over 30 years of experience. No, and don't put in the year you graduated from Bucknell. I think this is really funny. Because if I have to imagine what Cheryl Cohen looks like, I have to imagine she's probably pretty light-skinned. And while people will try to say, you know, there's discrimination with age, I have a feeling that the reason she's being passed over is probably a lot of DEI hiring. Are you a federal worker? We want to hear from you. The Times would like to hear about your experience as a federal worker under the second Trump administration. We may reach out about your submission, but we will not publish any part of your response without contacting you first. I just don't believe you. The long months without work, she added, have made her doubt herself. Did I really do all those great things, she said. Was I really good once? The answer is no, lady. And now you have to live with the consequences of your own mind telling you everything you did was fuck. Alicia Bear, 53, who had a 25-year career as a USAID contractor and ran reproductive health programs in Africa, is a single mother of 2 teenagers who moved in with a neighbor last year so she could rent out her home in Rockville, Maryland. There are so many things wrong with this sentence, I don't even know where to begin. But I'm glad she lost her job. She has since moved back, but said because of complications with Medicaid, she has delayed getting a biopsy for what her doctor thinks is non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Well, I mean, she's kind of lucky that she's of age to be able to get Medicaid, isn't she? Like, what? We were running these large programs looking for vulnerable populations, trying to help support them. And then you find yourself a user of the system, I just changed her gender. Miss Bear said. She said she feels a stigma relying on social welfare programs. Having to tell people you're unemployed all the time and going to the doctors and saying Medicaid, it's a humbling experience to have to ask all the time for help. And yet, this experience will teach her absolutely fucking nothing. Literally fucking, she's dumping tons of money into Africa, and when she gets on a system in the US and realizes how bad it is, she will not change her opinions. Instead, she's just like, it feels bad to have to say that you're on welfare programs. That is the normal feeling. Nobody likes having to be on them, and that feeling of shame should be what pushes you to get off of it when you don't need it. Courtney Blake, 47, was working last year in Geneva in USAID's Bureau of Humanitarian Assistance. Today, she's staying with her sister and her sister's family in New Paltz, New York. I'm living with family all over again like I'm 22 and just out of college, she said. She has applied for more than 40 jobs and remains angry about losing a calling that since 2012 has taken her to war zones in Iraq and Ebola outbreaks in Liberia. I'm gonna need a fucking source. I'm gonna need a fucking source, because I could not believe that any woman working in USAID is going into an active war zone area. If I had read this maybe like 10 years ago, I would have had like visions of that lady journalist who got molested in a giant mob in Egypt during an uprising and been like, yeah, I could believe this. There were women who were reporters who did dangerous jobs and they should be protected and vaulted for it. But unfortunately, I just don't believe this woman. I spent the last 13 years of my career and also personal life turning up to work every day in service to my country. No. You turned up to work every day in service of every other country. You turned up to work thinking, how can I spend American dollars on other countries that aren't America today? That is what you did. That is not a service to America. Doing work that at the core I believed in. But suddenly, and on a whim, all of that is forgotten. Dawn Niss, 56, spent 21 years at USAID, including 3 years managing the agency's billion-dollar budgets for Afghanistan and Pakistan. Excuse me, why did USAID have billion-dollar budgets for Afghanistan and Pakistan? Why were we giving billions of dollars to Afghanistan and Pakistan? Of all fucking this is like, if I scroll down and someone's like, yeah, we gave billions of dollars to Iran, I'd be like, what are we doing? Oh my God. Last year, he was making $195,000 annually as a USAID development advisor at the Pentagon. I also want to point out, when you get into one of these like do-nothing daycare jobs, all of these people have at minimum 1 decade in this position. They literally count on this daycare job to pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars until they die. It's insane. He has 12-year-old twin sons, and the tension over his impending job loss was particularly tough last year. There was a period of time, like between February and March, where every other day my son would get home from school and say, "Daddy, have you gotten fired today?" Mr. Niss said, "It's kind of a gut punch." Unless he was constantly talking about, I'm going to get fired any minute. I'm going to get fired one of these days. I know I'm going to get fired. The firing is going to happen and we're not going to be able to afford anything. And we're going to lose the house, little Timmy. Little Timmy, we're going to lose the house and I won't be able to pay for your school and you won't be able to eat any food. You'll be wearing rags, little Timmy, and it's all Donald Trump's fault. Unless he was doing that, I cannot picture a child asking that question every day. or every other day. That is insanity. That is my 7-year-old gave this incredibly nuanced take on what's going on in the world today. His wife works as a school teacher, but as of last month, he had depleted his savings and dipped into his 401k. I pulled out enough money to cover expenses for the next 6 months, just not knowing what to expect. These people are functionally retarded, all right? His wife works as a school teacher, and they're unable to pay for the things that they have thought they are entitled to. You see, I have bought some things that have a quite hefty price tag on them, and my goal is to pay them off while the going is still good, so that I don't have to worry about it when I am making either very little or no money anymore. If I had a partner who worked some kind of like, let's say, if I want a himbo, he's probably going to do some kind of manual labor, right? Let's just say he follows the family trade, right? Let's say I get a glazier, right? I get a fucking glass guy. He's not going to be able to afford my mortgage. He's not going to be able to afford some of the things I have taken on with the amount of money I am able to use. And so we would struggle if I had lost the good fortune and he was responsible for paying for all of that shit. Which is why you endeavor to pay it off incredibly quickly, right? It's not good advice in certain people's positions to be like, don't pay off your mortgage faster, you should invest that because you'll get more money. That's not necessarily true, depending on what your job is. Sometimes it might be better and more efficient to pay off your mortgage faster. And that is exactly what I am going to be trying to do. Jacqueline Devine was one of the very few to talk to the Times on the record a year ago about losing her job as a contractor in the agency's Office of HIV/AIDS. That's like the third or fourth fucking time! How many of these people were sending American dollars to fight AIDS in foreign countries? Miss Devine, 66, is a behavioral scientist, of course she is, who worked largely in sub-Saharan Africa on HIV treatment. I hate these people. She spoke out, she said at the time, because I have nothing to lose. A year later, her $200,000 income, $200,000 for a behavioral scientist working on HIV treatment in sub-Saharan Africa. I keep screaming, but God isn't listening. Her $200,000 income as an agency contractor has been replaced by $9,000 for teaching 2 courses in public health at Townsend University in Maryland. She has made ends meet with some income from investments and an annuity from a previous job at the World Bank. This woman is not a human. She said what amounted to a sudden forced retirement had left her at a loss. She's 66. She's 66 and didn't have enough money saved for retirement to be able to continue living the lifestyle that she was living as a USAID employee. Isn't the retirement age like 65? She's a year above that. What are we doing? I feel invisible professionally, she said. She was not ready to stop working full-time and had not thought about what she would do next. I feel paralyzed in some way. See, even though the retirement age is 65, you don't have to retire, but you should have your financials already set in case you had to retire at 65, right? Like, you're getting up there in age. There are health complications. What if something happened and you could no longer work and you have nothing? You have nothing in your retirement? Why are we supposed to feel bad for these people? Why are we supposed to feel bad that they have put themselves in this situation through their own actions? Oh my God. Holy shit. This is the fucking button question that's been going around on Twitter every fucking day. I've seen hundreds of fucking button question thing. If you press the blue button, that's on you, buddy. You shouldn't have to blackmail me into saving you from pushing the suicide button. Shut the fuck up. Guy Martorana, 44, was a USAID Foreign Service officer in the Ivory Coast and is now back home in Birmingham, Alabama with his wife and infant daughter. He spends half of each day applying for jobs, and he is up to 100, and at other times volunteers for a nonprofit that is continuing some of USAID's work in peace promotion in northern Ivory Coast. You know what's interesting with how many jobs these people say that they apply for? When people go on Caleb Hammer's show and they talk about how, oh, I lost my job and I've been applying for like, you know, 20, 30, 40 jobs a day. And then he actually looks at like what they've been applying to. He's like, you've done like 3 in the last 6 months. And then he gets so mad at them. So every time I read about someone applying for like, oh, I applied for 100 jobs, I just don't believe them anymore after watching Caleb Hammer. He stays in touch with former colleagues, but it's difficult. We're all applying for similar jobs. Well, maybe don't apply for daycare worthless positions then? Maybe do actual jobs? Maybe go into like, I don't know, he's 44, he could still do something in the trades. Samuel Port, 32, an army veteran who worked at a nonprofit helping manage USAID projects in South Sudan and Indonesia, has applied for more than 60 jobs. You know, South Sudan and Indonesia don't really sound like the United States, where our money should be getting invested back into. He said he was so discouraged at one point last year, he went alone to Great Falls Park in Virginia. I sat down by the river and I cried a bit. Why did he sit down by the river and cry? I don't know. What the fuck? I can't get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to send tax money to foreign countries anymore. Wah! What does he look like? Like Filthy Frank's gay cousin. I got very lucky. There are some success stories. Jackie Ndebika, 39, who worked as a contractor on the administrative team that arranged travel for top agency officials, including Samantha Power, the USAID administrator under President Biden, Joseph R. Biden Jr. I've never seen someone type out his entire name like that. Now has a job as a contractor arranging travel to Antarctica for the National Science Foundation's Antarctic program. I got very lucky, she said. In her spare time, she volunteers for USAID. It's her. She's the USAID. Alicia Contreras Danello, who's working for USAID as a foreign service officer when she was laid off while in Tunisia with her 2 young children. If I had 2 young children, I would not bring them to Tunisia. Is now running for Maryland's House of Delegates. Maryland, do not elect this woman! Then there is Michael Nicholson, 51, who was working for USAID as a foreign service economist in Mozambique, when he and his wife, also a foreign service officer, wow, I'm so shocked, the trend continues, were laid off. They have a 4-year-old daughter and have since moved to Nairobi, where Mr. Nicholson is running his own startup, Afrique U, that connects talented African student basketball players with American universities. If I was a racist, the perfect job would be to be an NFL or NBA team manager. You get to buy and trade black people with other white owners and then make them entertain people. He's doing the joke! He's doing it! Holy shit, that's crazy! I never thought I would get to say that. I never thought there would be a context in which I could say that. His business is still in the pre-revenue stage, he said, but he is optimistic. I bet he is, that silly little racist man. Look at him! Look at how fucking white he is! He's just like, yes, finally! I can buy and sell black people and it's not illegal! He does not feel that way about America. What? He does not feel that way about America. He said he preferred living overseas with other former American diplomats. If he prefers living overseas, why isn't he living with the people of the country that he's living in? Why does he want to live around other former American diplomats instead of the people of the country he's living in? Is it because he does actually feel that way about America and he is actually very racist? I feel that the United States is not a welcome place for my family right now, he said. We wanted to be around a group of people, Americans and others, that understand what happened to us. The pain, he said, still hasn't gone away. It's been over a year and it's just as bad, he said. I'm just able to talk about it now. I'm going to carry this the rest of my life.
The comrades I've lost won't stop hurting. It's like they're all still there.
These people are so fucking gross, dude. Holy shit. We finally got through this AIDS-ridden article on USAID. Holy shit. Holy shit. It's such a white pill to hear about how these people are struggling, rightfully so, because they were gifted so much fucking money and were so fucking retarded with it. Steve Robinson, he writes for the Main Wire. Fun little experiment. I took all of USAID grant recipients and crossed them with political contributions for 2024 through 2026. Theory, fake USAID workers with untalented leftist women making $275K a year were donating to Democrats to keep the grift alive. Early results are promising. And he has an entire chart here that says recipient name, and we have like Sesame Workshop, Nature Conservancy, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, Hagler Bailey Pakistan Private Limited, CGI Federal, Research Triangle Institute, the United Nations, Aspen Institute, Cooperative for Assistance and Relief Everywhere, Relief Everywhere, Inc., World Resources Institute, Save the Children Federation, right? All these fucking places. And then the amount of political contributions given to these different causes. Top 5 political recipients here. Jeffries Victory Fund, Harris Victory Fund, 314 Action Fund, WFW Action Fund. Sorry, I got it backwards. These are the USAID recipients. These are the political donations. These are the recipients of the political donations from the USAID organizations. And you have like the Nature Conservatory, Act Blue, Harris Victory Fund, LCV Victory, Harris for President. Like all of these Democrat politician shits getting USAID money from people being paid way too much money for useless daycare positions. They're getting released all right from their daycare jobs. And Steve Robinson is who I've been reading a lot of the reporting from, all about the main care fraud and like the Jubaland Somalian money laundering bullshit. The blue Ouroboros. Yeah. Big Jeffrey. And then down here, we have a little nesting egg here. So someone retweeting the Cheryl Cohen making $272,000 a year as senior VP at USAID, just the thing about the article. Someone named Billy Binion, I don't know who the fuck, reporter at Reason. Isn't Reason like that fucking commie rag? I didn't like USAID, but watching people gleefully mock a woman for having to start over at around 60 years old is bleak. You can disagree with someone's politics, but losing basic empathy, the internet has broken a lot of brains. No, and it's not just one woman at 60, it's many people in that article who had useless positions that I am over fucking joyed. If it wasn't frowned upon, like I could have just masturbated to that article, brother man, are you kidding me? People who want to undermine our nation and send our tax dollars overseas are getting their hundreds of thousands of dollars jobs taken away from them, and they've proven that they're too retarded to have actually saved any money for their retirement too? Are you kidding? Why wouldn't I be happy? Why wouldn't I be happy that these retards are doing the job that they should have been given in the first place instead of hundreds of thousands of dollars at USAID? Shut the fuck up, commie. And then Jeremy Kaufman quote retweeting saying, why would she have to start over? With a compensation of $272,000, she must have skills highly valued by the market. As evidenced by all of them crying about how they can't find jobs, they do not have skills. They have nothing. They spent years in daycare, lost their daycare financing, and now they're like a fish out of water because they are a useless individual who didn't train any skills. The chair towel is ready. Actually insane.